Hi, I'm Mac McGee. Make sure to join us this season on Braves Country Radio. We're bringing you well over 300 ball games, play-by-play, watch party style. We'll bring you the call. You can jump in and join the fun with the rest of the crowd. Talking the game, comments and questions are always welcome. That's Braves Country Radio. Every single Atlanta Braves ball game, over 50 out-of-town games built into our doubleheaders each week, along with even more college football and the NFL for 2026. Once again, we'll bring you all of October. It all gets rolling with our WBC Spring Training and Caribbean Series play-by-play in February and March. We'll see you there on the BCR. Good morning, y'all. Hope you're having a great, this is Thursday morning as Braves Fest is almost here, as we're going to go ahead and welcome in our Facebook crowd as we get ready for Braves Fest. Talk about that here in just a second. I see Peter in the chat. Peter, hope everything turns out well for you. I know you're going through a hard time. I saw Charlie, Jason accidentally deleted a couple of messages, so we do apologize. He texted me, he said, I don't know what the hell I was doing. I almost shut the whole thing down accidentally. So anyways, he's playing around with the new app to help us monitor the show. Good to see WQVZ 1700. Now this show is going to be about a half hour long, just so folks are aware of it. Not going to be a hard 45 minutes, 50 minutes like we normally do, mainly because there's not a lot of news to talk about, but we do want to talk about the Braves Fest, as maybe WQVZ can end up over there at Braves Fest on Saturday morning. Look, I know it's going to be really cold, and I get that, and but look, I've already made my plans to go, so I'm going. It's understandable if people back out because of the cold, but I am going to go, flying towards that direction Friday, and should be there off the jump. We should be there with bells on when it starts at 10 a.m. Now, we were talking about meeting up prior to, but because it's so cold, and Charlie made a comment last time about as long as it's not too early, so I'm thinking he's driving from his home. I don't want people to have to get up at the crack of dawn to be able to get to the ball field or to meet us for breakfast. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to go ahead and we are going to head to the ball field. It's so the Braves Fest, it's free to get in, but you do have to get tickets online. You have to get registered to get tickets. Now, I have a couple extra tickets. If you meet up with me, I have one on my phone. Like I said, it's free to get in. It's just, I think it's more they do it so that they know who's in the park, but also to know how many to expect. So, Israel, we'll talk about the start pitching here in just a second because I do have some news on that. But back to, Pete is saying that you have tickets. You don't know how to get them to people. Pete, all you would have to do is probably the easiest way would be to, because they're going to ask you to scan it. So however you downloaded it, if you're wanting like Charlie to use those tickets or whatever, either A, Charlie can sign up himself. I think there's still time to do that. Or B, just give him your login credentials for the app, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to ask you to actually scan it on the app. It's not a physical ticket. And I thought maybe you could take a picture of it and get it scanned. It's not going to be able to do that because it's kind of hard to explain until you look at it. But it's a moving scanner, and unless you have that on there, you're not going to be able to get in. You might be able to BS your way in. I don't know about that part, but I know that's how they want it to be done. So, what you can expect from Braves Fest on Saturday, they're going to have a ton of people there. They're going to have a lot of ball players, and they're going to have ex-ball players, and there's going to be a lot of excitement because they're going to be interviewing them. You're going to be able to hear a lot of those interviews. And it starts at 10 a.m. It lasts till 4 p.m. So if you don't get there right at 10 a.m., it's not going to be the end of the world. So what they have listed is an autograph sessions, photo stations. So what I would tend to think that is you're taking photos with players. Not really something I'm into, because I don't like autographs, and photos don't really mean a whole hell of a lot to me unless I meet the person just randomly and shake their hand. I don't really get it. The only photo I got in the last, I don't know how long, with anybody was because I just happened to be in the restaurant when Dale Murphy walked in, and long time, idol of mine as a little kid. So I thought it'd be a cool thing to get a picture with that. Other than that, I didn't really have I don't do a lot of the autographs and whatnot. Now, I know a lot of people do like to do them because they like to collect them, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just not something I've ever really gotten into, so why start now, right? Why? I got enough clutter in my life without starting cluttering that up. But they also have they're going to have player and front office Q&A sessions. That's what I'm most interested in, is it how they do that. I don't know what bowling with the Braves is, but I'm assuming it's something to do for the kids. I don't imagine they're going to have a lot of adults out there bowling with the Atlanta Braves. It's got to be something for the kids. And my guess is there's a lot of stuff there for kids to do. That would be my guess. That would be my number one guess. But I have never been. I just want to go because I want to get it. I want to see what it's like, if it's something I want to do long. In other words, is it a yearly thing? Is it something you just go to every 5 years? I don't know. I'm going to make a lot of decisions off it on my experience here. And I know it's going to be cold, but I got to figure most years in late January in Atlanta, Georgia, it's going to be cold. Like, if they really wanted to put this in a much better setting, they would do it a little later, maybe like a week or two later, and hold the thing down in their spring training facility. That, to me, would be the smartest thing, but I understand why they do it the way they do it, right? They want to showcase their stadium, et cetera, et cetera. To me, it would make a little more sense to do one down in spring training. So the first game is one on the 21st. You do this on like the 19th or 20th down in Florida. Down here in the deep South, it's not going to be overwhelmingly cold, right? And you do one in Atlanta, which is really the mid-South. That's not really the deep South. That's the mid-South, because you're getting up near the mountains at that point. And you do that one, to me, it would make a perfect time. When I would pick, how they always, they're playing spring training games. and they finish it up on Monday and Tuesday. Then they have an off day on Wednesday, and they usually play on Thursday. To me, the most logical time would be to do it on that Monday or Tuesday or maybe even Sunday and send X amount of players home that you know that you don't want to play in the next day. Because I'm telling you right now, after covering these games, the reason why we don't do the Monday and Tuesday spring training games anymore for anybody, nobody plays in these things. So to me, it would make more sense to do it the weekend before the season starts. I guess you could do it during a weekday, depending on when spring break is for the kids in the area. But anyways, that's my 2 cents. I would not be doing it on a January, but it's going to be cold whenever the hell it happens. Good to see folks in the chat. We got Richard and Robert and PETA and WQVZ. Robert, Israel, and I know I saw Charlie in here earlier. I don't know if he's in here right now. So if not, if someone could relay it to Charlie, because I have no idea how to get a hold of him. I don't think he's on X. My plan is going to be to show up at Truist Park on Saturday morning. Probably going to try to find somewhere within walking distance of Truist Park to grab breakfast or a coffee or something. Now, here's the thing, is that as far as the policy of what you can bring in, it looks like it's pretty standard with what you can bring into a ball game. So women can bring in bags and whatnot, but honestly, you're probably better off if you have one of those clear see-through bags. I know we got a couple of those when we went to the All-Star game last year. I gave one to my wife and one to my best friend's wife that was going. Those are pretty cool, but you can bring whatever the hell you want, just as long as it complies. Yeah, Peter, just let him know that considering the fact that you're not going to be there, and he had texted in the chat how cold it's going to be. That was one of the ones that Jason's flipping me the bird. One of the ones that Jason accidentally deleted. He was talking about what the weather was going to be like. But anyways, I didn't see the whole comment, so I don't know if it had anything to do with whether or not he was going. But the point is, I'm not going to ask him to get up at the crack of dawn to come into Atlanta when we can meet up just before. So my ideally, I want to be somewhere to at least get a coffee by 9:30. I'm probably going to shoot for 9 o'clock somewhere in the area. And I was trying to look up online the places that you could go to that you would be able to grab breakfast and whatnot near the Battery and whatnot. I didn't get a whole lot of ideal spots as far as what's in what, because they gave me all these reviews and whatnot, but none of them tell me exactly where the hell they are. So I'm going to figure it somewhere. I'll probably just tweet it out, whatever. Probably might be the easiest way. So if you don't follow us on X yet, it's going to be Brave Country X, and I'll Braves Country X, excuse me, and I'll probably just tweet out where we're at for breakfast and whatnot. And I know there are several restaurants as you walk up and down there. I just don't remember if one of them was specifically a breakfast joint, and I can't imagine there's many of them. Good to see you, Uncle Charlie. If you're, we were just talking about you, talking about meeting up on Saturday morning. We're going to meet. We're scratching the idea of breakfast because it's going to be so cold. I don't want everybody getting up early. So instead, we're going to meet up, or I'm going to try to meet up with folks at the Battery around 9:30, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm going to try to find one of these places to see, are they open? Because you got to figure on most days, why the hell would you be open on breakfast during breakfast hours? But that may be changing when you're talking about going into a Braves Fest. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know what the food situation is on the Braves Fest. I haven't seen anything on that. So I don't know if, I'm assuming that there will be concessions open and whatnot. So I'm not real concerned about being able to eat, because I got to figure they want to make money on this thing. They're going to let you in for free, but they're going to charge you an arm and a leg to, have a biscuit. So Robert says, I know they're one breakfast place in the Battery. Well, if you can tell me what the name of that is, because all the places that come to mind when I think of the Battery are all the little sports bars, and I know there's an Antica's, the pizza joint, but I know they're not opening up at 9 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever. So yeah, it's gonna be chilly, Charlie. But remember, it's gonna be inside, so I'm not really that worried about it. And I guess the good part about that is, if it scares some folks off, it's just gonna clear out the herd a little bit, and we'll be able to enjoy it a little more. I don't know what they typically get, but all the pictures that I've ever seen are all inside for Braves Fest, which makes a ton of sense if we're just talking about it being cold in Atlanta in January. So they said bowling with the Braves. Don't know what that means. I'm assuming that's going to be little kids bowling with Atlanta Braves players or Atlanta Braves staff, something. MLB The Show live competition. That's the video game. And like I said, the thing that I'm most interested in is the player front office Q&A sessions. I'm going to try to take some notes. I'm just really going to be interested to see what they have to say as we go into Goldberg's. Now, are we talking about the really funny sitcom, or is that the name of the restaurant? I'm assuming that's the name of the restaurant, Goldberg's. Okay. I'll have to see if I can find it. But Goldberg's, here is Fine Foods Battery. Open until 9 a.m. It says it's open right now, but what time does that mean? Does it start 7 a.m. to 9 a.m.? Okay, so if that's within walking distance of the Battery, because I'm just going to Uber from the hotel and then just try to figure it out from there. For folks who may be looking for me on Saturday, I'm going to be wearing a light blue Atlanta Braves sweatshirt. I've already decided what I'm going to wear because it's the heaviest thing that I have that's Braves, and it's going to have like the lowercase a. And y'all know that that's not my favorite because I didn't grow up on that, but it's going to be the lowercase a, the one from the 70s. Ever since I've been a Braves fan, since I was a little kid, we've always had the capital A that confuses Alabama fans. All right, so Goldberg's maybe. And if not, like I said, follow me on X at Braves Country X. I'm gonna tweet out where I'm at. Charlie, I don't know if you're on X, but if you get on X and you follow me, then you'll be able to message me as well. So, and I don't know who else is planning on going. I haven't really gotten a line as far as who's all planning on going. But if the cold weather scares you away, I get it. It's it happens. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a nice little cushion to bounce into what is. So just so you know, it's from the broadcasting standpoint here on the channel on Monday, we're going to start doing Caribbean Series games. So Monday is going to be Caribbean Series here on Braves Country Radio. And those are big games. Those are games with real MLB players playing baseball games, competitive baseball games, games they want to win. This is their championship that they play every single year. So we look forward to that. And now let's get into Braves news. So we might touch up a little bit here on the Braves Fest as we walk out of here, but let's go ahead and jump in on the Braves news. So the Braves, couple of things that have gone down last few days as far as things that of interest for the Braves. One of the things was there is a report out that the Braves are interested. Now, first of all, they did sign Jordan Groshans, and it's just to a minor league deal. He was a first rounder by the Blue Jays in 2018, and that may sound recent. Hell, that was 8 years ago. So let's be honest. This is an also-ran is what we're talking about. He's a career 267 minor league hitter with a grand total of 17 games and 65 plate appearances in the major leagues. And they all came in Miami in 2022. So he's not really that big of a threat to make the starting roster, the opening day roster, I should say. But with that being said, you're going to have to fill out this lineup. And if he impresses in the spring, you never know. two names the Braves have definitely been kicking the tires on are Lucas Giolito and Chris Bassitt, and I've mentioned them several times in the offseason. I've said it several times. Chris Bassitt is the one that I'm most interested in because I think you can get him on a cheap deal, right? I think you can get him on a deal where you're not going to have to commit more than 1 year to him, and you're not going to get it like a qualifying offer and all that stuff. So that to me is the most likely scenario. But I don't know what Chris Bassitt's life is like. And I do know for the last several years he has spent his career up in the Northeast. Remember, he was with the Mets back in 22 with their collapse. He was one of the ones that the Braves tagged, but all in all, he's been a really good pitcher, right? And then he's been in Toronto the last few years. And it sounds like Toronto's moving on, which makes a ton of sense when you think of what they've done, right? But even with that being said, the Chris Bassitt is still a guy that you can put in the rotation and eat innings. And he's been pretty durable. That's the other thing that I like about it. He has been really, really durable, right? And he's also a guy that does not have the qualifying offer, which to me is huge. Because I'm telling you right now, if you see qualifying offer next to someone's name, it's just not going to happen. Not with the Atlanta Braves. Not this year. Not when you consider the fact that you're not really signing anybody who is what you would consider. There's no one left out on the market that you would consider worthy of giving up the number 26 pick overall. That's the short of it. That is the short of it. The number 26 pick overall, that's a pretty expensive price to pay. And for you to have to go out and give up anybody that is on the qualifying offer that's left, it doesn't make a ton of sense to go out there. And so the guys that are still out there on the qualifying offer, Zach Gallen is one of them. So immediately, I'm just saying there's no way in hell Zach Gallen. I'll be honest with you, I don't think Zach Gallen's going to be worth whatever he gets paid, assuming someone pays him what he's looking for. Zach Gallen might find out that he should have taken the qualifying offer because I think he's going to get something a lot lower, especially because teams have to worry about that qualifying offer. But they're talking about Chris Bassitt. He will be 37 years old in the very early spring. And they're also talking about Lucas Giolito. Lucas Giolito is another guy, and I've been wondering about him all spring, but what is it going to take to bring him in? Are you going to have a multi-year deal? Because Lucas Giolito is 32 years old. Well, he'll be 32 years old during this season. I want to say his birthday is like mid-year, like June or July, something like that. And people are expecting his market value to be about $20 million a year. That's going to be a problem for the Braves to be able to sign anybody at that rate for extended number of years, especially when you consider we just got that weird news about the fact that we don't know how they're going to end up laying out the broadcasting rights because all that fell apart with FanDuel. So they're still trying to figure that part out. Now, I think all in all, the Braves will get it figured out and won't cripple us. But you have that, and you have on top of that, what about the fact that we know that there's going to be a lockout next year? They can try to tell you, oh, we're going to try to get a deal done. We're going to try and do this. We're going to try that. None of that's happening. It never happens. Usually, if we get something out, if we avoid a lockout, anything like that, it's usually comes from we'll get that news. I think the last time that they avoided the lockout, I want to say that we got the news in the off season. So in other words, like November, December, going into the final year, that didn't happen. And I don't expect it to happen. And I saw a interview by, what's his name? Max Muncy of the Dodgers. And he was claiming on whatever goofy podcast he was on that the Dodgers, what they're doing is not going to affect the finances, and it's not going to cause the lockout, blah, blah, blah. It has nothing to do with it. He said if they were going to do it, they were going to do it. Max Muncy's an idiot. Okay, I'm sorry, but this is exactly why we're going to get a lockout, and we should get a lockout, honestly. The Mets and the Dodgers should not be able to play with a different set of rules than the other 28 teams in Major League Baseball. Sorry, but it shouldn't happen. And if it means that we have to have some uncomfortable months going into next season, so be it. I am here for a salary cap and a salary floor because the teams at the bottom, and I'm looking at you, Pirates, Marlins, even the Cardinals are in that boat nowadays. You should have to spend. You shouldn't be able to just float on by and continue to rake in the money. I have more of a problem with the teams that are at the very bottom not spending anything as opposed to the Dodgers and Mets. But I do have a problem with the Dodgers and Mets because it's not fair, especially when you look at the way the media deal was broken down for the Dodgers. It gave them an unfair advantage. That's why they're spending money like a drunken sailor, because they're allowed to do it, because the rest of the teams in Major League Baseball are not getting their cut. That's going to be a problem. That's going to get resolved next year. So That's one of the reasons why the Dodgers went out and they got Tucker, because this is their last hoorah, because after this, it's very much expected we're going to have to play all with the same rules. Okay, we move on from that. The pitchers, Pete Ozuna has not been signed. And I know you ask about him all the time. He's not coming to the Atlanta Braves. Where would he play? Is he all of a sudden going to learn how to play shortstop? Wherever he goes, he's going to want at-bats. That's the short of it. He's not going to get at-bats in that lineup when you consider all what they brought in. If they brought him in, it would have to be on such a cheap deal, I don't know why he would take it. I wouldn't hate seeing Ozuna as coming in a platoon DH at a very cheap role, and then you can cut him or trade him when Sean Murphy and Kim come back. I just don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to hold out. Somebody with a good hitting park is going to want to bring him in as a DH. But you realize when you sign him, that's all he can do, and that's why he's very frustrating to have on your roster. He cannot be, we're going to give Acuna a day off, go put Ozuna in the outfield. You can't do it. You have to sit him on the bench. You can't say we're going to give Olsen a day off at first. You can't do anything with him. That's why they went and got Mike Yastrzemski. He's got very good defensive metrics, and he's a guy that they can bring in and out of the lineup. And remember, he's basically a much better version, but a left-handed version of what Eli White is. So if you have Eli White and you have Mike Yastrzemski, along with Profar and Harris and Acuna, if you have those guys, then you're in the goods as far as we have a very deep outfield right now. You can't add another guy. If the Braves add another guy, it's going to have to be a catcher off the trash heap. They said most recently that they hope to have Kim and Murphy back sometime in May. My guess is that means June. So that means April and May, we are not going to have anything but the April and May, we're going to have, at this point, I think we're going to end up with, on a normal basis, it's going to be Drake Baldwin behind the plate, but they're going to have to give him days off. You can't have him out there every day. So with that being said, you're going to have to go out there and get a backup catcher. We'll look at that here real quick. We'll go a few more minutes past what our original time was because I do want to get to that. But starting pitching is the name of the game. Our bullpen's pretty much set. They'll still be shopping to see if they can add some things. But realistically, what we've done with our bullpen has been really, really impressive. And that should be, assuming health, that should be a very lights-out bullpen. The other thing would be the starting pitching, and you look at Lucas Giolito, he's 32, $20 million. If he's really wanting to do that, you would have to probably give him a 3-year deal minimum. I don't hate it. I just never thought Lucas Giolito was the end-all that beats all. So, Framber Valdez is still back, is out there, and people are talking about him, but once again, he's a qualifying offer guy. So the best guys, the guys with the highest AAV, okay, the guys that you go, okay, these are the guys that I think most likely the Braves would be in on. Lucas Giolito and Chris Bassett. Now, Bassett's AAV is a little lower at $15 million. Lucas's is $20. You might be able to get Bassett because of his age on a 1 or maybe 2-year deal. So let's say 2 years, $30 million. You might be able to get that out the door. I'd be okay with that with Bassett. I'd prefer the 1-year deal with him because of his age, but it is what it is. The other guys that are interesting out there, because it always seems like we always hear the rumors of the Braves going after the bigger names, but they always end up with something much less. Let's take a look at guys like Zach Littell. He's an interesting guy at 30 years old. He might be willing to sign a 1-year prove-it deal. I want no part of Nestor Cortez. He is a junk ball pitcher. I liked his story when he first came out, and I enjoy watching him pitch. I just don't want him pitching on my team because he will get clobbered from time to time. Other names that are out there, I just have no interest in these guys. So after that, it falls off a deep cliff. Eric Fetty, we saw him last year, trash. Max Scherzer, he's at the end of his rope. No way I want him. He's going to be 42. Goodbye. Justin Verlander, I think he stays on the left coast. 43 years old. No thank you. Tyler Anderson, cheaper deal. Don't hate that deal. They're talking about him being able to sign somewhere between $5 and $7 million a year, and you probably get him on a 1-year deal. These are just inning eaters, though. If we're going to get a guy, so if I'm going to go an inning eater, I don't hate a Martin Perez. I don't hate a Jose Quintana, because at that point you're signing a 1-year deal for $5 million, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe even get as low as $3 million. Or you take a risk on a 1-year prove-it deal with Jordan Montgomery, who for whatever reason fell off a cliff after his injury, has not come back, looked sharp at all. Maybe you can get a really cheap deal on Jordan Montgomery. He signs a 1-year prove-it deal. So let's say he signs a 1-year deal with the Braves. 1 year, $3 million. If he's anywhere close to what he was, in 2023, when he was the number one reason why I believe the Texas Rangers won the World Series, I'd take that in a heartbeat. Hell, if you could sign him for a 2-year deal, I'd do it. Because the worst case scenario is A, it doesn't work out and you cut your losses, or B, you throw him in the bullpen as a long man. Griffin Canning's out there. He was a flash in the pan. I'm not buying into his nonsense. He was a guy, remember we had him, then we released him, then the Mets grabbed him, he pitched well, and everybody was jumping up and down saying, look what the Mets did. Eventually, the league caught up with them, and Griffin Canning's not something to get excited about. I'd rather take a flyer on a Patrick Corbin. Now, he's going to be 37 in the middle of this season, but Patrick Corbin or a Sugano, any of those, I'd rather just, if you could sign a couple of those guys, have them battle it out in the spring, and then keep whoever makes it and whoever doesn't, either A, if they have options, you send someone down, or B, you don't. But there's a good chance that because of what I'm talking about, because of the way that they're set up, and because they're going to want to try to keep the rotation together as long as possible, Bryce Elder is going to be a part of your starting rotation next year. And it's because he's out of options. So, yes, in theory, man-to-man, if you're putting them up against each other, Hurston Waldrop deserve it over Bryce Elder. Yes, Hurston Waldrop has a unbelievable ceiling. But Hurston Waldrop has options. And you can put him down in the minor leagues. You can ride Bryce Elder to either a trade option later in the year. If he's pitching really well, I'd sell him at his highest value. Or if he falls apart, like we've seen him do before, then you're just going to have to DFA him. He's in the same situation that we were in last year, if you remember Ian Anderson. But I do believe he ends up making the regular season roster. Okay, as far as catchers, because there's still some catchers. Now, Reese McGuire just got signed, so it's really getting very, very slim as far as what's out there. Here are the most likely guys that the Braves could sign on a cheap deal, knowing they're going to drop them when Sean Murphy comes back. So Mitch Garver is 35 years old. He's really more of a DH type nowadays, or bat off the bench. You could give Mitch Garver a 1-year deal. I think you could get him in at $3 million. They're showing his AAV about 3.5. You could probably give him somewhere between 2.5 and 3, and he would be on your bench. And then when Murphy comes back, you could do one or two things. You could keep him, keep Murphy and Baldwin, and they just kind of rotate who plays defensively, or you could trade or DFA him. The other guy that's probably more likely would be a Christian Vasquez. Christian Vasquez is a very good, great version of a backup catcher. And his AAV is being projected at 1.05 million. That's just above minimum wage in Major League Baseball. Jonah Heim's out there. I don't see them doing that. He's going to be 30 on opening day, and his AAV is much higher at $6 million. I don't see that happening. Tom Murphy, probably not. Gary Sanchez, probably not. A little too high at 4.3. MJ Melendez is interesting, but remember his biggest issue he has been terrible defensively behind the plate. So it never worked out with him and the Royals. I don't see them doing that. He's really, when you sign MJ Melendez, he's really just an emergency catcher that can play in the outfield. We have plenty of outfielders. The other one that would be interesting is Austin Barnes, 36 years old. You could get him for a song, and that's how you end up. Now, remember, we still have some guys on our roster that we could end up signing or keeping on. But if you're looking to improve, because I just think it's imperative for the Braves to get off to a very good start. I really do. After last year's debacle of a season, it's very important that they get off to a very, very good start. And so I'd like to see them have more than just an absolute scrub coming up off the Atlanta Braves farm system. And when I say farm system, I'm not talking about a guy who's up and coming. I'm talking about like guys that you're just grabbing off the scrap heap and knowing you're going to kick away. But the problem is, the Braves are not going to spend a ton of money. They're just not going to do it, especially when it's just a 1 to 2 month Band-Aid. So there you have on that. We'll go ahead and wrap this up. As far as Braves Fest, once again, we will be down there. See if Charlie's answered in on everything. I'm thinking what we could do is meet up somewhere in FanFest. And once again, if you get the X app, just download it, follow Braves Country X, and follow me so I know who you are and I can follow you back. Then we can message each other. But I'm going to be somewhere in the Battery. Plan is to be there around 9:30 at the very latest. I'm shooting for around 9. And try to find somewhere that's available to get in for breakfast. The problem is, and Robert had a good suggestion, I don't know how easy it's going to be to get into these places. Because I don't know how many people, now I would think the cold weather is going to keep people away for a little bit. But there's a couple of places. There's a place called Buttermilk Kitchen. Robert mentioned Goldberg's, but all these places, I don't know if it's going to. I can tell you this: I'm not going to stand in line. I'll just grab a coffee and just head to Braves Fest. So we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Peter, good luck with everything that's going on with you, and we will report back to you next week on Braves Fest. Hopefully, everybody has safe travels. And once again, Monday, 3:00, I believe it is. I believe 3:00 is the first game. We're doing the Caribbean World Series. It'll be the only channel to be giving it to you in English. All the other channels are not. They're all in Spanish. The Caribbean World Series, the first day, I believe, first game, I believe, here it is, 3:00, and it's Puerto Rico versus the Dominican Republic. Should be a lot of big names on that. Then we have a Tuesday night game, so it's Monday afternoon at 3, Tuesday night at 8, and then Wednesday and Thursday, they're both 3:00 games. Friday is a double header. Those are the semifinals, 3:00 and 8:00, and then Saturday is a night game. And then we get to the Super Bowl. And once again, every Super Bowl Sunday, we've started the tradition of Super Sunday Salute to baseball, and we're doing it again. It's going to be dropping at noon, so everybody can listen to it live or listen to it whenever you want to listen to it. But this one is going to be on the great calls of baseball's past. And we put a bunch of clips together. I think you'll really like it. Next thing you know, February 19th is the spring training preview, and February 20th, Orioles and Yankees. And if you missed it, we have figured out the first Braves broadcast where they're actually going to be on. That's going to be on Saturday at 1:00, February 28th, Braves and Orioles. If any others come up, we're going to let you know. But other than that, we'll see you. If you don't go to Braves Fest, we'll see you Monday at 3. If you go to Braves Fest, try to reach out to me on X, and we'll meet up. Love to see whoever's going to be out there. It's at Braves Country X, and we'll see you. Have a great day.